In this video, I'm going to look at some of the common mistakes that we make whilst installing virtual computers or using Azure Labs. Firstly, to get into Azure Labs and to open up the Hyper-V Manager, I would need to type in. I'm just going to close the existing machines that I have open. So once I've logged in and I've got to this Azure Lab computer, I press the Windows key on my keyboard and I type the word Hyper, and this opens up, gives me the option to open up Hyper-V Manager. I'll click on the Hyper-V Manager, and currently you can see that I've got Windows 10A and Windows 10B. Now looking at some of the errors that we could encounter. The first error is look at creating a new virtual computer. I click on New Virtual Computer, I go Next, and I give it a name that I have used before. So you can see I've used Win7, Win10A, 7, Win10B. If I use the same name, and I continue generation 2, 2000, I leave this as not connected, and here I say next. I select the operating system, Windows 10, next, and then I go finish. It will pop up with this error here. The virtual machine management service encountered an error while configuring the hard disk on virtual machine Win 10A. The reason for this error is that it's already got a hard drive called Windows 10A. So if you get this error, you need to rename your computer. Alternatively, I can click here to go to edit disk, go next, then click on browse, and this is showing me the existing hard drives that I have here. Now, if you delete an incorrect hard drive from here, then that means you have to start from scratch because your virtual machine has been deleted. So here I can see there's the two virtual hard drives that I have that have been created. This will come back to when you're running out of space, for example. Sometimes if you're running out of space and you need to delete unused virtual machines or hard drives that were not used before, then you can come here and you can right click and you can select delete. You can delete it from here. But now remember, if you delete it from here, you have to reinstall if you delete the incorrect hard drive. That's why it's important for us to name the virtual hard drives correctly. Now, I created a new virtual computer. So, Win 10AA, I'm going to go next, generation 2, next. I change this to 2000, go next, and I leave this as not connected, next. Here as well, many of us click on browse for the hard drive. Where it says connect virtual hard disk, we have to create a new virtual hard disk. If I click browse here, you'll see there's nothing here. Now, many of us click browse here and we find nothing and we think that there's a problem. It's because I've clicked browse in the incorrect place. When it says create a virtual hard disk, I leave this as it is and I go next. Then install operating system. This is when I click on browse and then I select Windows 10 Enterprise Evaluation. So that error where you don't find any of the files here means that I've clicked on the incorrect place. So instead, I click Browse here instead of going to click Browse here. That's what this error means. Then I go Next, and I go Finish. Now, when I connect to this new virtual computer, and I click on Start, it says press any key. I'm going to restart again. Remember, I can reset here, and I say reset. It says press any key to boot from the CD or DVD. If I don't press any key on my keyboard, it keeps going back to this error. So if I reset, and if I press any key on my keyboard, now it starts loading the Hyper-V Manager. So I'm going to leave this to start running in the background. I'm going to go to my Windows 10B that I have running. I'm just going to double click to open that one up. And I've started with the installation of Windows 10B. So I want to see what kind of errors I can expect here. I'm going to go yes. Let's start with the region. The region is South Africa. There's South Africa. I go yes. Keyboard layout, I leave it US. Second keyboard layout, I'm going to skip. Let's connect you to a network. To finish setup, you'll need to connect to the internet. Now remember, I didn't select any switch. So that's why it's saying, let's connect you to a network. If I had connected to the default switch, which I'll show you just now, then it will give me a different display. So I'll click on, I don't have internet. I'm going to continue with limited setup. And then I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to be using this. So I'm just going to be calling it Sudan. I'll pick a password. Answer the security questions. Choose privacy settings. I'm going to accept the defaults. So while this is loading, I'm just going to minimize this, and I'm going to go back to restore this one down, minimize it. Okay, so I'm going to go now back to the other virtual computer that I was creating. I'm going to connect to it, and we're going to go through the setup with this one. Now, with this one, I said it was not connected to a switch. So I'm going to close it. I can see that it's running, and I'm going to click on the settings. So if I click on this, it means I'm working with Win10 AA. On the right-hand side here, I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to look at the network card. Where's the network card? Network adapter. It says it's not connected. This one, I'm going to connect it to the default switch. Default switch means it's using my computer's internet access. So if I click it to the connect it to the default switch, I'll say apply and OK. And now I'm going to start with the installation on this computer here. And you'll see it's slightly different. So I'm going to say install now. Accept the license terms. Go next. Custom. I don't make any changes here. I go next. And I start copying the files. So whilst this one is copying the files, let me go to my other virtual computer, which is Windows 10B. I can click on the bottom of the screen here as well. It will show me the different virtual computers that I have open. So here, connect to Windows 10B. I'm going to click on connect. I'm going to log into my Windows 10B. And this is now my Windows 10B computer that I installed. I'm now going to minimize this. So I'm going to go to Windows. It's still loading this one here. Just restore that one down and minimize it. Go into my Windows 10B. And Windows 10B, now remember, was not connected to the internet. So if I try to go and do automatic updates, for example, on Windows 10B, I'll click here, update. Check for updates. And I say check for updates. Now remember, it says we couldn't check for updates because you aren't connected to the internet. Make sure that you have cellular data or Wi-Fi. Remember when we installed this computer, it was not connected to the default switch. So how do I correct this problem now? I can minimize this and I can go back to my Hyper-V manager And Windows 10B, I click on Windows 10B in the center here. Then I go to settings on the bottom right. I click on the network adapter. It says not connected. And I'm going to connect it to the default switch. I'll say apply and OK. Now, if I go back into Windows 10B, it says network, do you want to allow your PCs to be discoverable? I'll say yes. And I'm going to retry it. Now you can see it's looking to the internet. Or even if I click on the network, and I go to network and internet settings, you're connected to the internet. Can you see? So that was the problem of not being able to connect to the internet. We showed you how to go and change the default switch. So again, we went into Hyper-V Manager. From Hyper-V Manager, I click on the machine, I clicked on its settings, and then I clicked on the network adapter and I changed it to default switch if it was not connected. Let me check on the progress of my other virtual computer that's installing. Whilst we are waiting for that machine to load, let's look at, actually I'll cover it in other videos, other areas.